So today is my birthday and I just felt like being fancy as fuck today. So I'm sorry, did I blind you with my highlight? What's up, you guys? I am back making a video on my birthday. So today I wanted to come to you and give you like a mid-year what I've read so far type of video. Even though I don't think I've seen this, I probably just made this shit up because I'm lazy as fuck and I have not made a video and I cannot remember how long. So far I have read 27 books this year. I can probably guarantee you 20 of them were audiobooks. First this year I listened to the audiobook of You Can't Touch My Hair and Other Things I Still Have to Explain by Phoebe Robinson. It was also read by Phoebe Robinson. It was hilarious. I gave it 4 stars. You guys can go check out my review on my blog. Then I read The Summer That Melted Everything by Tiffany McDaniel, which was a book that had been going around BookTube for a little minute, and one of my favorite booktubers reviewed it and she just made it sound so amazing, and I was like, I need to read that. And then I read it and it wasn't as amazing as she said. I ended up giving it 3 stars. I wrote a review for it on my blog. You guys should go check it out. Then I listened to the audiobook of Bad Feminist by Roxane Gay, which is basically her talking about how she is a feminist and what feminism means to her and how it fits into her day-to-day life, and it was fucking amazing. I gave it 5 stars. You guys should go listen to the audiobook. Then I read Darktown by Thomas Mullen, which was a book that I got from the library. It is a thriller slash mystery that's set in 1948. It follows the Atlanta Police Department that is forced to hire black police officers because of politics and stuff, and then the black police officers are trying to navigate their way through the system, even though they can't arrest white suspects, and they have to wait for the white police officers to show up to bring people to the jail, and it's just fuckery at its best. And then there's murder, and then some stuff happens, and then there's a book, and I ended up giving it 3 stars. It was decent. It wasn't a waste of time, but I wouldn't recommend it. Then I listened to the audiobook of Citizen, an American Lyric by Claudia Rankine. I ended up giving this book 3 stars. I have since realized that I probably need to actually read it because I think Eli was telling me how it's formatted in the book and it would probably be more interesting to me, but the audiobook version of it was just meh. Then I listened to the audiobook of The Misadventures of Awkward Black Girl by Issa Rae. It was also read by Issa Rae. I don't know, it just wasn't as quirky or funny or awkward as I would have liked it, but it still was good and still definitely recommend. This must be like the year of the 3-star books. Okay, the next book that I read was Brown Girl Dreaming by Jacqueline Woodson. I ended up giving this book 3 stars. I actually don't remember what this is about. That tells you something. If this book was not as good as Another Brooklyn, which was the very first Jacqueline Woodson I ever read, that book was just so fucking good. Go check out my review on that book if you have not, because yes, all the feels. But Brown Girl Dreaming was a little bit of a disappointment, so yeah. Then I listened to the audiobook of Around the Way Girl, a memoir by Taraji P. Henson, and it is also read by Taraji P. Henson, and let me tell y'all, I cried. I was bawling. I was snot, all of that. That girl is a mess, okay? She been through some things, and then she's reading it, so you're getting her story from her perspective, and then she's an actress. She's not just gonna read the book, she's gonna give you everything. So just go read the book. Don't read the book. Don't read the book. Go listen to the audiobook, because yes. Then I listened to the audiobook Push Out, The Criminalization of Black Girls in the School System. Is that the name of it? Oh, The Criminalization of Black Girls in Schools. It is by Monique Morris. Y'all, that book was dropping all the motherfucking knowledge, okay? It talks about Push Out, which is the school to prison pipeline, but normally when the school to prison pipeline is talked about, it's talked about from the perspective of black boys, and this one follows black girls. And I listened to the audiobook, which I would definitely recommend because it's in the book is kind of like interview format. The author was writing the book and she went to like a girl's detention, wherever she went, and she was interviewing them and like the topics that they would bring up, then she would delve into that topic, so it would transition between facts and then the girls talking about like their stories, and it kind of all tied in together, and it was just brilliant. The stories were fucking heartbreaking. The information in the book is priceless. I recommend everyone to read this book or listen to the audiobook. Then I read The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas, which is the book that everybody has been talking about, because before it even came out, it got picked up. The rights got signed over to some movie company or whatever. It is about a girl who is in high school, and one of her friends gets murdered by a police officer, and now she has to deal with that. And this book was so very well written. I read it in one sitting. I did not want to give it 5 stars, but I had to. I think I didn't want to give it 5 stars because of all the hype. I'm one of those people. Yes, I am. If it has too much fucking hype, then I don't fucking like it. But I don't care, okay? It's worth the read. 5 stars. I recommend it. I'm scared for the movie. Yeah. Then I listened to the audiobook White Like Me, Reflections on Race from a Privileged Son by Tim Wise. My nigga, Tim Wise, okay? Why didn't I know about him before? Even though I have seen him on CNN before and I just didn't really pay attention. I just thought he was just a white ally. But I don't need to really explain what the book is about. Reflections on Race from a Privileged Son. That's it. Like, yeah. I gave this book 5 stars. It was brilliant, and it is also read by the author. And I like it when they're read by the author. Then I read the last book in the Gay Fish Sisters trilogy, which is Gone Crazy in Alabama by Rita Williams Garcia. And this book follows the girls as they go visit their grandmother and great-grandmother and great-aunt and cousins in Alabama, and stuff ensues. And I gave this book 3 stars because in comparison to the other two, where the other 2 books were at pivotal moments in history. The first one was during the Black Panther movement in California. The second one was during election season and after Vietnam War and you know, drugs and all of that when they were in New York. And then they went down to Alabama, and I was expecting a lot of racism, but there wasn't. It was more, this book was more like a closure on the family, and I thought it could have tied in better the racial issues, I guess. They were there, but it wasn't, I don't know. It was a little bit of a letdown in comparison to the other 2. And I thought the characters were kind of weak in this one. Anyway, I still definitely recommend this whole trilogy. If you have daughters, if you don't have daughters, if you have sons, give them this trilogy because it is important and it is relevant. And I gave this last book 3 stars, but overall, as a whole, I would give the whole series 4 stars. Then I read Saga Volume 7, which is by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples, and all I have to say is, how dare you? I gave this book 4 stars, this graphic novel 4 stars. That's all I need to say. Then I read Daughter of Gods and Shadows by Jade Brooks. Yep, that's her name. This was urban fantasy about this girl who the soul of another world leader was placed inside her. Now she has to save the world and all that good stuff. And I literally had this many expectations going into this book, but I was pleasantly surprised. The writer can't write for shit. They use one of my least favorite tropes in all of the world, using rape or sexual assault on a female as a motivator for their character. I hate that shit. And then this, I think this is a female, and that's why I was even more disappointed. Like, you are a girl. Like, why would you use that bullshit? Come on. Something about this book is really, really good as far as like the plot goes and the idea and the storyline, but her writing is shit. I gave it 3 stars. I actually would recommend it to certain people. Then I listened to the audiobook Black Privilege. Opportunity Comes to Those Who Create It by Charlamagne Tha God. If you guys don't know who that is, Charlamagne Tha God is 1/3 of the Breakfast Club that comes on 101.5, 105. Somewhat of the goddamn stations. He is a mess. He is reading this audiobook. It's basically you learning about his life. The only thing I don't like about this book is the title. It should have been titled something else because it was a stretch trying to tie in Black privilege to his story because it's basically just a memoir. But go listen to the audiobook because Charlamagne is a fucking, he's crazy, okay? He's ridiculous. Of course, I gave this book 5 stars. Finally, I finished books 6 and 7 in the Harry Potter series. I gave them 3 stars and 4 stars. I think I would have liked the 6th book more if I didn't already know who the Half-Blood Prince was. So going through the book, I didn't have that suspense that everybody else had if they had read it the first time or if they hadn't seen the movies. And The only thing, it would have been 2 stars, but the only thing that gave it the 3 stars is the ending. I forgot that happened in that book. I thought it was the 7th book that happened. You know what I'm talking about. But basically, there wasn't enough fucking Neville Longbottom, okay? And the 7th book, it kind of dragged a lot. Like, them hiding in the woods situation in the movie, it was short. In the book, it dragged on forever. And I was like, wait a minute, the 7th book, it spans like a whole year almost. Ain't nobody got time for that bullshit. And the only reason it got 4 stars was because my dog Neville at the end, and then I just can't. Y'all just taking away too many people at the end of the book, and I just, why did you do that? Anyway, overall, my favorite books from the series are 3, 4, and 5. 3, 4, and 5. Oh my god, I will reread those so many times, especially 5. My dog Neville. Oh my god. Okay, I'm done. Then I read The Book of Harlan by Bernice L. McFadden. Everybody had been telling me, Alan, read the goddamn book. So finally, I read the goddamn book, and it was delicious. I gave it 4 stars. It's about this jazz musician growing up in what's the time period? I forgot. Anyway, he's a musician, and then some things happen to him, and I don't want to say what actually happens to him because I actually didn't know this was going to happen because I didn't even read the flap of the book or the back of the book, and I was like, what? And then what happens to him prompts me to go look and research, like, did this happen to other people? And then I was like, whoa, history. Anyway, 4 stars, definitely recommend it. This is one of the better of Bernice L. McFadden books because I seem to have a problem with her and her magical realism situations, and they don't always click with me. So yeah. Then I read the first book in the Shattered Sea series by Joe Abercrombie, which is Half a King, and this series is about this world and war. It's a fantasy series. I gave it 3 stars. Then I listened to Tears We Cannot Stop, a sermon to white America by Michael Eric Dyson. Let me tell y'all, if you don't already know how I feel about this man, I have so much respect for this man. And then in the book, I find out he's a Baptist preacher, and I even have more respect because I have a lot of respect for religious people who are questioners and intellectuals because, no offense, that's not something I see a lot. I first heard Michael Eric Dyson speak when I was a freshman at Southern University, and my mind was blown, and I vowed from then on anything that man ever did I was going to get my hands on, and I was going to read it. And then I discovered audiobooks, and then he reads his audiobooks, and then his voice is just like, whoa, and go read or listen to the audiobook because it's fucking amazing. Then I read the second book in the Shattered Sea series, which is Half a World by Joe Abercrombie. I was literally skimming through the book because of the plot. The book follows a different character. It still has the main character from the first book, but it follows a completely different character, and I really liked the different character. But then, like, I wasn't really paying attention. So I go to read the third book, and then I figure out some things halfway through, and I'm like, what the fuck? And then I stopped reading because I was like, this is some bullshit. This is the stupidest shit I have ever read. And then I got one of the people at my job to tell me what happens at the end, and I'm even more disappointed because nothing that I would have wanted to happen at the end happens at the end, and I'm glad that I did not waste my time, finish reading the third book. So yeah, my recommendation is don't fucking read this series. It's stupid! Then I listened to Dear Ijewele, or A Feminist Manifesto in 15 Suggestions by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. And this book is basically her friend asked her how to teach her daughter to be a feminist, and this is 15 suggestions. And although I didn't necessarily agree with all of them, I really liked how this was set up, and it was very simple. There's no one right or wrong way to be a feminist. However, I thought this was a good starter pack and a good way for you to look at what she's suggesting and then explore, use what she said, or explore your own way or options or whatever. And it's Chimamanda. She's fucking amazing. Yeah, so I gave this book 5 stars, even though it's not really a book, it's more like a little pamphlet, and I listened to the audiobook. It literally took 1 hour or maybe 2 hours. Yeah, so. Then I read Juba by Walter Dean Myers. This has to be the most disappointing book that I actually read this year. Juba follows this kid during slavery, but he's living in New York and he is free and he is a dancer, and then he goes to Europe and just some bullshit about him trying to make it, and it is actually a true story, and it was a waste of time. I'm not even gonna lie, I gave it 2 stars. I think I only gave it 2 stars because it's Walter Dean Myers. If it had been anybody else, it would have been 1 star. And the only reason I finished it is because it's like 150 pages, so don't read this book. Just go look at the store. Go, if you want to know about the person, just go look it up because it's based on a true story. Yeah, disappointing, okay? Then I listened to If You Ask Me by Betty White. I gave this book 2 stars. It is read by Betty White, and I realized that I don't give a shit about Betty White. I wanted Rose. Then I listened to The Sisters Are All Right, Changing the Broken Narrative of Black Women in America by Tamara Winfrey Harris, and basically the book is about the title, but this is a very, very good conversation. And if you guys have a book club, I think this will be a perfect book to discuss with your book club or a class, or just it's one of those books that needs to be discussed, and I really wish I had read it with other people so that we could have those discussions. Unfortunately I didn't, but I gave this book 5 stars. I mean, not 5 stars, 4 stars, and I definitely recommend it. Then I read a book that I was sent for review. This is called Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough, and I gave this book 2 stars. This book is about this woman who meets this guy one night, and then she goes to work the next day. He's her new boss, and she finds out he's married, and his wife is a fucking psychopath. And then there's some dream out-of-body experiences going on, and the secretary inserts her life in. She's cheating with the husband, and she becomes the lady's friend. And you think that no, don't read this shit. Okay, thanks, bye. And lastly, I listened to the audiobook My Voice by Angie Martinez, and it was read by Angie Martinez, whose voice I fucking love, okay? And I gave this book 4 stars. It was a memoir, just basically telling about her life. Man, she has had an interesting fucking life, okay? She really has, like, damn. Anywho, if any of you are a fan of hip-hop, you should read this. If you're a fan of Angie Martinez, you should read this. If you are a fan of radio, you should read this. If you're just a person who likes to know things about other people, then you should read this. I definitely would recommend listening to the audiobook because it is read by Angie Martinez, and you know her voice. If you don't know her voice, just go find a clip of her saying something, and she's got that really thick New York accent, and she just sounds like hip-hop. Like, there's no other way to explain it. And it was really good, and I learned a lot. So guys, I know that this video is hella fucking long, but I didn't want to split this up in the little bitty videos because I was like, nobody cares. Y'all watch these long ass videos anyway. You might as well watch some long ass videos from somebody who's actually fucking entertaining. All the books that I plan on reading going forward are going to be books that I'm going to try my damnedest to review and get reviews up on my blog, and also make review videos. I just haven't been feeling like writing, and in order for me to do reviews that I think are halfway fucking decent, I need to write them down. And I haven't been feeling like reading as well, so yeah, that's that bullshit. Anyway, I'm getting back in the groove. I'm behind on my reading goal. I've only read the 27 books. It's half the year. I should be at 50 already because my goal was 100. I'm rambling now. That is pretty much all I have for you guys today. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave them down below in my belly, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!